I'd like to welcome everyone to the May 12th, 2020 regular scheduled Port Clinton City Council meeting.
Yes, Madam President,
Yes, Mr. Beelan?
I move we waive the opening formalities and move to roll call.
We have a second.
I second.
We have a motion by Mr. Beelan and a second by Mrs. Gilman to waive formalities. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Dave Beulah,
Here.
Ted Hovis,
Here.
Beth Gilman. Here. Roseanne Hickman,
Excused.
Brian Hill,
Here.
Margaret Phillips. Here. Jerry Curley.
Here.
Council, you received the April 28th, 2020 regular meeting minutes. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
Madam President, I move to approve the minutes.
Thank you, Mrs. Phillips. Second.
I'll second.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Drolling. I have a motion by Ms. Phillips to approve the April 28th, 2020 regular meeting minutes. Second by Mr. Trolley. Any discussion? Okay. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. Motion carries. The chair notes that certification has been made regarding compliance with the rules and notifications of this meeting. We have no guest presentation, no public comments. I don't have anything this evening. Matt?
I do. Thank you.
I know, you can have all our time.
Thank you, Madam President. Good to see everybody again. You've received some emails over the past couple weeks, and some of us have had some discussions. Today we made the official announcement, and you'll see it in the media in various sources. MOM is going to be in effect starting Friday evening or Friday afternoon. Meals on Madison. As you all know, we're going to block off part of the 100 block of Madison Street, put some tables in that area. They'll start Friday at noon or whenever everything gets set up and run indefinitely until it's no longer deemed needed or the snow starts flying. Along with that, Chief Hickman is going to reinstate the Mora for the downtown district, also starting Friday at noon. And in front of you, Council, thanks to the work of Mr. Belo, and I appreciate it, you'll see an ordinance in front of you suspending cafe permits for through the end of the calendar year. That would allow restaurants, if they choose, to put additional tables, depending on the space requirements, right outside of their establishment for tableside service. Again, MOM is not going to be tableside service, it's going to be for carry-out, kind of like a food court idea. The Honkabout and other parades that we've had through town have been so successful that the Honkabout is now going to be a monthly event until car shows, the traditional car show, is permitted to take place. It's going to be on the first Sunday of every month, June through September. Again, starting here in this parking lot and following that standard route through town. The last parade we had for the teachers last Friday was again another big one, and we ran into some logistical issues getting through town. So we're going to reconfigure how that goes. We're going to have police cruisers and then participant cars and then maybe a fire truck and then participant. So there's a definite notation that, hey, this is a parade. Don't cut in line. You know,
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
A question about that?
Yeah.
Is there a reason why it doesn't go down Perry Street? Because I just realized the teacher parade, because I was working that day.
Yeah.
And I happened to hear the sirens, and a customer in the drive-thru asked me what it was all about, and then I looked out and I realized it was the teachers.
Yeah. No particular reason. When we created the original route for the Easter Bunny, the goal was to get as close to as many houses as possible, and that route takes, other than Lakeshore Drive, we're within 800 feet of every house in town, and it goes down 2nd and 3rd. Besides, if you go down Perry Street, you only get one half, if you will, as opposed to everything else, you get people on both sides. So no other particular reason. Yeah.
Mr. Mayor, there were 153 cars with the honkabout. Do you know how many there were with the teachers?
I don't. There were a lot more.
Long one too.
Yeah, there were a lot more emergency services participating as well. I will tell you, with the honkabout, I was near the front, and Chief Johnson was in the back. I went on the radio and said, okay, the front is at Harrison and 3rd at the flashing four-way stop, and he responded he was just turning onto 3rd from Maple. Did the same thing for the teachers, but this time I forgot, and we were down by the First Cemetery and 3rd Street, and again, he was just turning on, so it was another 2 blocks or so longer. Again, don't know how many of those cars were actually participants and how many were not to be participants, but yeah, it was a good one. The next one, and we're still working out the details, I think it's going to be on the 27th, which is the last day of school, will be for the seniors. We're working with the school system. The plan right now is to have the kids in the cars with their parents. They've invited teachers to participate in that. We've also invited all the first responders from within the school district. So we're bringing in Catawba and Erie and Bay Townships, as well as, and we always had the sheriffs and other law enforcement entities within that. And again, you'll get more details, but I think we're targeting the 27th for that one. And that one's going to start and finish at the high school using the modified same route. Mowing notices, we sent out 38 mowing notices for high grass throughout the city. So we're monitoring those. They have a period of time to rectify that. There are a few that I've noticed that still haven't, but the vast majority have. If they reach that deadline, then the city will mow and bill accordingly, as we've done for the past 12 years or so on that particular plan. The City Hall reopening, I know that's been a question that some of you have asked. We really don't know. One of the factors that we're looking at is when are they going to lift the gathering of 10. That's going to be part of the consideration, so we can get back in there. Things are going well. We haven't really had any negative comments about this. Commerce is still working. Phone calls, emails, faxes, drop boxes seem to be working well. The folks inside City Hall, I think Ms. Ostheimer can agree. I think I see her nodding over there. It seems to be working pretty good. Want to give kudos to the service department. I had several comments since Sunday, Mother's Day and so forth, about how good the cemeteries look. I'm in at least 10, probably close to 15 folks that have Facebook messaged, emailed, text, stopped me at the mini Bassett's and complimented on how good the cemeteries look. So thank you. Sent out a message a week or so ago about community development block grants. The goal is always big. We were going to try to get quite a few intersections done with the funds that are available. We're going to apply for $28,000 in curb cuts as opposed to $100 and some thousand through CDBG funds. For a variety of reasons we can get into a little bit later if you'd like. Out-of-pocket expense will be in the $3,000 to $5,000 range for that, and Mr. Hatfield was perfectly comfortable with that dollar amount. A week ago, Monday, I had the Fat Guy 4th of July fundraiser where I walked at the fire station, walked 20,000 some odd steps in 10 miles. With money still coming in, right now that's generated just under $5,000 at $4,904.47. If you're wondering why such an oddball number, some people that paid by credit card or PayPal, there were fees that the 4th of July ate, so the Chamber of Commerce didn't have to. Would like to send a kudos out to Nikki Zahn, and the spelling of that last name is Z-H-A-N-G. Nikki is the Mandarin teacher at Port Clinton High School. With this COVID issue, the fire chief ordered some, I believe they're UV lights, to put in the back of each ambulance after a call, whether it's COVID related or not. Put that UV light in any surface that this light touches. The folks that know more about this than I do say that UV light will kill the coronavirus after 15 minutes. Well, the packages arrived and the instructions were in Mandarin Chinese. So we made a quick phone call and delivered the small instructions, delivered them to Nikki, and within a day and a half she had that translated and all was well. Turns out it was just a plug and play type thing. Just plug it in and go. But thanks to that. And finally, I would like to wish Sandy all the best. She has told most of you, but she'll be out for a little bit, having some needed shoulder surgery to repair a fastball injury that she suffered in high school playing baseball.
That's the greatest reason. Not true, but good.
So with that, Madam President, I've got nothing else this evening. Thank you.
Okay, Thank you. The auditor just submitted his monthly reports. Nothing from Mrs. Hanson. Law director, anything?
Nothing tonight, Madam President.
Okay, committee reports. Mr. Buell, finance.
Finance committee met last meeting, and we can talk about the outputs of that in the ordinance. Thank you.
Safety and services, Ms. Phillips.
Nothing we didn't need this time because we didn't have anything pressing.
Economic and community development, Mr. Buell.
We'll be meeting to pick up a couple things. I need to check with Ms. Hickman and see what she has. Thank you. Nothing to report.
Thank you. Arts and culture.
Nothing to report. I'm trying to get a meeting together with my committee members. I will let them
Under correspondence, we have the month-end reports, April 2020 from the auditor, Mr. Hatfield. AEP, Ohio Power Company statement, First Energy letter, U.S. Census Bureau from Christine Zuss. Also, we still have the Planning Commission submittal, and that was to be discussed at one of Mr. Vilo's committee meetings, and they have not had a chance. And my understanding is that will still remain tabled, and I will take a motion on the other items. If you would like to approve the correspondence.
I move to approve the correspondence. I'll second that.
Okay, thank you. And motion by Mr. Vila, a second by Mr. Troy to approve the correspondence as listed, less the planning commission is still tabled. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed the same side. And motion carries. Okay, we'll go on to third readings of the ordinances and resolutions. Will the clerk please read by title and summary only ordinance 6-20?
Ordinance 6-20, an ordinance encouraging and requesting that the state tax commissioner extend the filing and tax payment deadline to the state and municipal income tax returns for 90 days and declaring an emergency.
Thank you. Does council wish to take any action on ordinance 6-20?
Madam President,
Mr. Vila,
move to retain the emergency clause in ordinance 6.
I have a motion to retain the emergency clause on ordinance 6-20. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Ms. Phillips. Any discussion? No? Will the clerk please call the roll?
Pat Hovis,
Yes.
Brian Hill,
Yes.
Jerry Trolley,
Yes.
Margaret Phillips,
Yes.
Beth Gilman,
Yes.
Gabe Velo.
Yes.
Motion carries 6-0. Does council wish to take any further action on ordinance 6-20?
Madam President,
Mr. Beal,
move to adopt ordinance 6-20.
I have a motion to adopt ordinance 6-20.
I'll second.
Thank you, Mrs. Phillips. Second by Mrs. Phillips. Any discussion? Will the clerk please call the roll?
Jerry Trolley,
Yes.
Margaret Phillips,
Yes.
Brian Hill,
Yes.
Beth Gilman,
Yes.
Pat Hovis,
Yes.
Gabe Velo.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries 6-0. Ordinance 6-20 is hereby adopted. Will the clerk please read by title and summary only ordinance 7-20?
An ordinance authorizing and directing the Director of Safety and Service to prepare and submit applications as may be required to the Ohio Public Works Commission, OPWC, Ohio Water Development Authority, OWDA, Community Development Block Grant, CDBG, United States Department of Agricultural Rural Development, USDA-RD, Water Pollution Control Loan Fund, WPCLF, and Water Supply Revolving Loan Account, WSRLA, and any other funding source that became available, all hereinafter also referred to as funding sources, for the water and sanitary infrastructure improvements to execute application documents for the funding sources required and to execute contracts for planning, design, and/or construction, and designating repayment sources for the loan as required and declaring an emergency.
Thank you. Does council wish to take any action on 7-20?
Madam President,
Yes, Mr. Belon?
Thank you. The Finance Committee discussed this with Mayor, Safety Service Director, Law Director, Auditor, and the 2 other members of the committee. Last week, we discussed some recommended changes, so I have an amendment. I move to offer an amendment to Ordinance 720 in the nature of a substitute marked below number 1.
Do I have a second?
Second that.
Any further discussion?
Madam President.
Yes.
Thanks. So the amendment will make several changes to the scope of the original ordinance, which I felt was overly broad and not aligned with council's historic role in oversight of large city projects like this proposed infrastructure project. So the amendment narrows the authorization for funding activities for the design phase only, rather than all aspects of the water and sewer portion of the infrastructure project. In discussion, Mr. Snyder told the Finance Committee he's fine with any changes to the ordinance that council sees fit to make, so I would encourage you to vote yes on the amendment.
Thank you. Any further discussion, questions? Will clerk please call the roll? This is on to amend ordinance 7-20.
Pat Hovis,
Yes.
Brian Hill,
Yes.
Gary Trolley,
Yes.
Dave Belo,
Yes.
Beth Gilman,
Yes.
Margaret Phillips.
Yes.
Motion carries 6-0. Thank you. Does council wish to take any further action on ordinance 7-20 as amended?
Madam President,
Mr. Belo.
move to retain the emergency clause in ordinance 720 as amended.
Thank you, Mr. Belo. Do I have a second?
Second that.
Thank you, Mr. Trolley. Further discussion? If none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Beth Gilman,
Yes.
Margaret Phillips,
Yes.
Pat Hovis.
Yes.
Sorry, this thing died. Dave Belo,
Yes.
Brian Hill,
Yes.
Gary Trolley.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries and the emergency clause is retained. The vote is 6-0. Does council wish to take any further action on ordinance 7-20 as amended?
Madam President,
Mr. Belo.
move to adopt ordinance 720 as amended.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Mr. Trolley. Any further discussion? Okay, will the clerk please call the roll?
Pat Hovis,
Yes.
Brian Hill,
Yes.
Gary Trolley,
Yes.
Dave Belo,
Yes.
Beth Gilman,
Yes.
Margaret Phillips.
Yes.
Motion carries 6-0 and ordinance 7-20 as amended is hereby adopted. Will the clerk please read by title and summary only ordinance 8-20?
Ordinance 8-20, an ordinance authorizing participation in the ODOT cooperative purchasing program, including the winter road salt contract, authorizing and directing the Director of Safety and Service to execute all necessary and required documents and agreements for participation in the purchasing program and declaring an emergency.
Does council wish to take any action on ordinance 8-20?
Madam President, I move we retain the emergency clause in ordinance 8-20.
Thank you, Mrs. Gilman. Do I have a second? Thank you, Mr. Trolley. Any discussion? Birds have a little discussion. Clerk, please call the roll.
Beth Gilman,
Yes.
Brian Hill,
Yes.
Dave Belo,
Yes.
Pat Hovis,
Yes.
Gary Trolley,
Yes.
Margaret Phillips.
Yes. Thank you. Motion carries to retain the emergency clause. As to ordinance 8-20, does council wish to take 6-0 it carries? Does council wish to take any additional?
Madam President, I move to adopt the ordinance 8-20.
Thank you, Ms. Phillips. Do I have a second?
A second.
Thank you, Ms. Gilman. Any discussion? Will clerk please call the roll?
Margaret Phillips,
Yes.
Beth Gilman,
Yes.
Dave Belo,
Yes.
Gary Trolley,
Yes.
Brian Hill,
Yes.
Pat Hovis.
Yes. Motion carries. 6-0, and ordinance 8-20 is hereby adopted. Would the clerk please read ordinance 9-20 by title and summary only?
Ordinance 9-20, an ordinance authorizing and directing the Director of Safety and Service to issue requests for the qualifications and service to issue requests for qualifications, negotiate and enter into an agreement for design engineering services for the Portland Infrastructure Improvement Project, and declaring an emergency.
Thank you. Does council really wish to take any action on that ordinance 9-20?
Madam President,
Mr. Bealow?
move to offer an amendment on ordinance 9-20 in the nature of a substitute marked Bealow number 2.
Thank you. Do I have a second? Second by Mr. Troy to amend ordinance 9-20. Discussion?
Madam President,
Yes, Mr. Bealow?
thank you. The amendment would make several changes to the scope of the original ordinance, narrowing it to preliminary design to reduce the cost, down from millions to less than, I'm told, $200,000, while providing the city a much better understanding of the total project cost. The total project cost will be key to calculating the revenue needed to match the project needs. And that will inform how we structure the eventual revenue mechanisms from Mr. Snyder's proposed infrastructure fee and the ballot measure for the road improvements. I think we need to look at the revenue piece very carefully, and that means the amount and timing. So the last thing I want to do is for us to rush into this in the name of doing what's right for the city, and then realizing it requires a significant financial burden on some residents right away. At a time of unemployment, at a time of record unemployment, when many people may find it a burden to meet that commitment we're asking for. And the change, I think, would also better enable the city to address downtown flooding and Lakeshore Drive erosion problems, by freeing up funds that could be used for necessary design work, such as those natural disaster mitigation projects, would be shovel-ready should additional federal or state dollars become available. It seems to me that Lakeshore Drive and the downtown flooding problem would be a better match, a better candidate, should any future federal stimulus dollars come to be, as opposed to repairing years of wear and tear on city roads like residential streets. So I'd encourage you to vote yes on the amendment.
Any additional discussion or questions?
Would Mr. Mayor respond to that? How do you feel about that?
As long as we move forward, I'm happy.
Any other questions? We have a motion by Mr. Bealow, seconded by Mr. Trolley to adopt, or to amend, ordinance 9-20 as Mr. Bealow explained. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Sorry, my glasses fogged up. Beth Gilman,
Yes.
Brian Hill,
Yes.
Gabe Bealow,
Yes.
Jerry Trolley,
Yes.
Margaret Phillips,
Yes.
Pat Hovis.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries 6-0, and ordinance 9-20 is amended. Does council wish to take any further action on ordinance 9-20 as amended?
Madam President,
Mr. Bealow.
I move to retain the emergency clause in ordinance 9-20 as amended.
Thank you, Mr. Bealow. Do I have a second? Ms. Phillips? Thank you. Any further discussion? Motion by Mr. Bealow, second by Ms. Phillips to retain the emergency clause as to ordinance 9-20 as amended. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Gabe Bealow,
Yes.
Pat Hovis,
Yes.
Beth Gilman,
Yes.
Brian Hill,
Yes.
Margaret Phillips,
Yes.
Jerry Trolley.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries 6-0. Does council wish to take any further action on ordinance 9-20 as amended?
Madam President,
Mr. Bealow.
move to adopt ordinance 9-20 as amended.
Thank you.
A second.
Thank you, Ms. Hovis. Any further discussion?
Madam President,
Yes, Mr. Bealow?
I would just add Mr. Hatfield agrees with the intent of the amended ordinance.
Thank you. Okay, I have a motion by Mr. Bealow, second by Ms. Hovis to adopt ordinance 9-20 as amended. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Jerry Trolley,
Yes.
Murder Phillips,
Yes.
Brian Hill,
Yes.
Beth Gilman,
Yes.
Pat Hovish,
Yes.
Dave Vila.
Yes.
Thank you, council. Ordinance 9-20 as amended is hereby adopted. The second reading of ordinance and resolution. Would the clerk please read resolution 20-1 by title and summary only?
A resolution supporting the creation of a revolving loan fund or other financial assistance program to support the commercial and industrial sectors in the city of Port Clinton, state of Ohio, with initial capitalization from a contribution to be made by the Ottawa County Community Foundation, and directing the city administration to determine the requirements and eligibility.
Thank you. Does council wish to take any action on resolution 20-1? Seeing none, resolution 20-1 will be moved to a second reading on May 26th.
The third reading.
Third reading, I'm sorry. Correction, third reading. First readings of ordinance and resolution. We have resolution 20-2. Would the clerk please read by title and summary only, resolution 20-2?
A resolution to appropriate funds for the purpose of decoration of graves, conducting memorial services, and otherwise engaging in activities appropriate for the celebration of Memorial Day 2020.
Council, if you remember right, there was a motion made by Mr. Trolley in the past file of council to appropriate the $500. After speaking with Mr. Hatfield and Mr. Belo also mentioned that there does need to be a resolution, so that's why the resolution's being done.
Madam President, do
Yes.
we need to pass that tonight? Is there enough time to get that?
According to Mr. Hatfield, it could be passed tonight or it could be passed the next
Second reading.
It would be up to council how they wish to proceed. It's only in time sensitive that they need it before the Memorial Day weekend, so
We'll just wait till the second reading.
that's. Does council wish to take any action on resolution 20-2? Okay, seeing none, resolution 20-2 shall be moved to its second reading on May 26, 2020. Will the clerk please read by title and summary only ordinance 10-20?
An ordinance authorizing and directing the Director of Safety and Service to apply for, accept, and enter into an agreement on behalf of the City of Port Clinton with the Ohio EPA's Division of Environmental and Financial Assistance, DEFA, to obtain funding for the city's Lakeview Beach project and declare an emergency.
Thank you. Does council wish to take any action this evening on ordinance 10-20? Seeing none, ordinance 10-20 will be moved to its second reading on May 26th. Will the clerk please read ordinance 11-20 by title and summary only?
Ordinance 11-20, an ordinance suspending section 727 of the Port Clinton Codified Ordinance, temporary public right-of-way occupancy permits for outdoor restaurants until December 31st, 2020, to allow for outdoor dining and declaring an emergency.
Does council wish to take any action on ordinance 11-20?
Madam President,
Mr. Velo?
move to waive the 3 required readings on ordinance 11-20.
Thank you. I have a motion by Mr. Velo to waive the 3 required readings on ordinance 11-20, second by Mr. Trolley. Any further discussion?
Madam President,
Yes, Mr. Velo?
that was not one for it. So this ordinance, like Mr. Snyder mentioned earlier, this is about helping restaurant and bar owners, but more importantly, it's about helping servers get back to work. So I wrote to City Hall, Mrs. Sardi, last week when the governor announced the outdoor dining reopening starting May 15th. We discussed it the next day, and I think we all agreed it would be a good idea to consider. So yeah, there's the street side takeout option that the mayor talked about. That probably doesn't do enough for servers who need tables, actual tables to make a living. And we all know restaurants will have reduced indoor capacity under the new restrictions, safety protocols, so there'll be tables unused. So this ordinance would allow those tables to be placed if the business wants on the sidewalk and allow restaurants to accommodate as close to their original indoor capacity as they can outdoors, making up for lost revenue and income, hopefully. So the way you do that is to temporarily cease enforcement of that section or chapter 727 of the codified ordinances, because that's where the current restrictions are spelled out, and that's where all the cafe permits for sidewalk dining are located. So if Slater's wants to move tables on the sidewalk, I'm all for it, but it's not just about downtown and Main Street. If Valmel's wants to put out tables on the public sidewalk and allow customers to have pizza and other fare there, I'm fine with that too. So it would still allow for basic health, safety, and sanitary conditions required by the county health department and division of liquor control at the state level. So it changes none of that, changes nothing related to open container or other safety measures. So to accommodate that May 15th opening, I urge you to vote yes when waiving the 3 required readings of passage.
Further discussion or questions?
I have a question. Will the tables be brought out and then left out there, or will they be brought in each evening, or is it only for the weekend? Is it a 7-day-a-week thing? You know, how long is the duration?
So the restrictions on the books now, there's a curfew if you're in the downtown business district that you have to cease sidewalk serving, outdoor dining at 11 p.m. What I'm proposing is get rid of all of it. No curfews, nothing. If they have customers, is it really going to kill us if somebody's open until midnight or 1 o'clock during this recovery period? And I'm not terribly concerned about implementing who brings in the tables, who does. They can figure that out. We're just getting out of their way, and if they want to do it, fine. I'm sure Mr. Colson can work with everybody to make sure everything's safe and put away and tidy. Does that help?
Will it be on the cement alone? Because at first I thought it was going to be parking in the street.
So this involves the public right-of-way, the sidewalk permits. That's what that chapter's about.
Okay.
And that's what I'm saying we temporarily suspend for the rest of the year to promote more capacity in outdoor
It's different.
dining.
Two different
things. The what he's talking, what the mayor's talking about, the mom,
That's the other one.
those will be just in the street for the duration they decide to do them.
Okay. So we actually have 2 programs here. so-
Correct.
And
One for takeout and one for actual table service, like most people expect when they go to a
That's- yeah,
restaurant.
I see it no different than McCarthy says tables outside, that same type of thing. If, you know, Slater's wants to do it, anybody that wants to do it downtown, it gives them the option, doesn't mean they have to, but it gives them the opportunity.
Madam President?
Yes, Mr. Moore?
So it would eliminate all fees, which is $200, and if you apply, it's $200. Even if you're rejected by City Hall, you only get $100 back. It gets rid of that. It gets rid of the penalties. It gets rid of the curfew. It just opens it up to encourage this type of thing. Even if you've never had an outdoor gated patio service before, you can start now if you wanted. Think a la carte in the front, for example, instead of along the back in their outdoor dining space. So it would open up capacity. All while maintaining safety
It only
and social
extends it through the
distancing
end
and
of this
stuff.
year.
Thank you, Mr. Beal, for your work on that.
Mr. Everett?
Yeah, I'm assuming that because of Ohio's liquor laws, unless those have been changed, that the Mora glasses are going to have to be used outside. Is
Yes.
that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Another question, please? Okay.
This isn't
Since this is on city property, are the business owners going to alleviate the city from any liability, from any accidents or anything caused by this? Somebody trips over a table or a chair or something, and then the city is on the hook? Or, I don't think that's a good idea personally, but it's council's call.
Yeah, Dina?
I know we did not discuss that. That would probably have to just be in a separate ordinance. This one focused solely on suspending that section of the codified ordinances. We can definitely draft something separate to address that.
I don't think the existing chapter 727 involves liability.
At all? For even the ones that have the cafe permits now, they're using anything.
And that was the purpose, to suspend what we already had, and it did not address liability at all, so we couldn't put that in then, so it would have to be addressed separately.
Do we have any assurance that will be addressed? Any council members like that?
I'm passing 3 readings. Mora. Am I gonna be able to order Mora all to 3 o'clock in the morning now if there's no time that the restaurant has closed?
It's a little different.
No, y'all's mom's thing's totally different. What he's saying is the restaurant now can extend their hours, get away with the whole curfew, be open however late. So if I can do that and order Mora at the same time,
Mora is separate. Mora has specific hours from noon until midnight, unrelated to this.
but y'all are already bypassing the Mora law or Mora stuff with certain things on the takeout and things like that.
Unrelated.
So it's unrelated, but if I'm ordering the food from a restaurant and they're doing the table service now onto the sidewalks, I guess it is unrelated because I can order a drink from them and drink it out of a regular cup and not have to pay the 10 cent or 25 cent for a Mora cup now.
Still have to have a Mora cup outside.
And I could.
But not, I don't have to own McCarthy's outside patio that's fenced in.
So
So why would I have to do it if it is extending the outside area?
Yeah, so here, liquor control designates where their outdoor mapping is. This doesn't impact any of that.
So I would not be able to order a drink with my dinner sitting outside at these restaurants with that amendment.
After midnight, you would not be able to. Prior to midnight, you would be able to. You would have to go inside and get it in your Mora cup and bring it outside. Pay separately, pay for it separately. It won't be on your check that you get outside.
And just to respond to that, with Mora, we have to follow the strict Mora guidelines. So for example, as the mayor just indicated, if you're sitting at your table and you order a beverage, you would have to pay for that beverage before the server walks into that restaurant, because the server is going to have to bring up your order, put it in a Mora cup, and then take it out to you. So that beverage would be paid for before it leaves the bar or restaurant, which would fall in line with Mora. And it would only be until midnight, so come midnight, if you're outside dining, you will not be able to have any more beverages. So the Mora requirements are going to be strictly followed. Even though you are getting tableside service, if you're using a credit card, you're going to have to make 2 separate purchases. One for Mora and then one for your meal.
How would that work outside the Mora? Like say Bell Meadows?
Standard liquor laws would apply. They wouldn't be able to sell it onto the sidewalk.
So you couldn't drink it outside the
Correct.
establishment, yeah. Well, that makes sense.
Yeah, this doesn't negate any of safety, fire, codes, anything like that. You still, like Mr. Belo said, this is just opening up for a business that wants to serve food out, basically. I mean, and they could do a Mora cup,
If they so choose.
if they so choose. Further discussion? Will the clerk please call the roll as to
Madam
waiving the...
President,
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Belo.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Should we table this until law director gets the liability issue taken care of?
That is up to council, how they want to do it.
I heard her say that's a totally separate issue, but maybe I misunderstood. Maybe that needs to be a separate ordinance if we address that.
It's a totally separate issue because the section right now does not address liability. So in order to suspend that section of the codified ordinances, we'd never be touching the liability issue. So we would have to address that separately. And as Mr. Belo indicated with the cafe permit section, it does not address liability either. So this is something that we would have to address completely separately. We can do this now and then follow up and address the liability after. And one would not affect the other.
Okay.
Madam Law Director, the liability presently, if someone is walking down the street and trips, who is liable?
Well, I guess it depends where they trip, and how they trip, and so, but for example, if somebody trips on city property, you know, they can always file a complaint. Whether that complaint is successful, depends on a lot of different things. So it would be the same as if they tripped on a table, as if they tripped on a crack in the sidewalk, or as if they tripped on something somebody laid leaving out. I think it would probably be the same. They would file a complaint with the owner of the property, which would be the city, and whether their complaint would be successful would depend on an entire set of instances and standards. So it just depends. It wouldn't be an automatic, you tripped on a chair, you're automatically going to get to sue the city, and you're automatically going to be successful. There's some things that you have to prove through litigation.
Thank you.
Madam President,
Yes, Mr. Miller?
I defer to Mr. Noter.
No, Mr. Noter, yes?
Yeah, but the city is actually giving the establishment permission to put the stuff out there. So, and it's city property. It seems to me like the city would be on the hook. Well, you know, typically though, I mean, you know, when somebody sues, right, they're gonna sue the business owner, they're gonna sue the person that was sitting at the next table. No, I'm kidding, but they're gonna sue the city
You know,
and the
it's kind of
restaurant.
like the city puts benches, or they put the planters out, or they put the trash receptacles out. It's kind of the same thing. If you trip on one of those, you know, and you get hurt, it's going to be the same type of a lawsuit.
Okay,
So-
yeah, those are generally, yeah, out by the curb. I mean, you know, not in the,
Well,
in the passageway that's normally used by
They will
citizens.
have to be placed accordingly from our discussion. I mean, they can't be right in the middle. It still has to be ADA compliant. Someone may be able
Well-
to put out one table. Some people may be able to put out two. They can't just plop them right in the middle, my understanding. They cannot just put it right in the middle so people can't get around.
Well, Thank
So
you.
they have to apply everything, all those laws still apply, is my understanding. Rules, guidelines, anything like that.
Madam President, let me suggest this. Move forward with my motion, which is to waive the required readings. I recommend council pass it tonight. If legal counsel and anybody else wants to take up the liability issue, I'm sure we can come together in the next 2 days, while following all the public meeting announcements, and address it as needed. I will note that, Mr. Noter, you didn't bring up liability when he brought up his idea of dining in the streets, only when it's my idea, but so be it. I want everybody to be safe.
I got that to
That's
bring
fine.
up against
That's-
the mayor's proposal. I was just waiting for that time, just so it's noted. Because that is a big point there. If the city's gonna be putting tables, chairs out, blocking off the entire 100 block section, and it's the whole reason I came here tonight. When Jefferson right now in the same area is blocked off, and anytime it rains, or high tide, or northeaster, Monroe is also blocked off. What street now are people supposed to go down when 3 streets right there are all blocked off? Now we're going down the brick lake, you know, paving roads or other things like that. The liabilities there, how much is it costing the city? Because this is not something the restaurants are putting out there. So how much does it cost the city, and what's the revenue for the city as well? Along with the liabilities, because anybody who does sue the city, whether it goes to court or not, it does still cost money. And that money comes from people like me who pay taxes. And right now, when a lot of people aren't making as much money, that's something I'm concerned about. So maybe he didn't bring it up when the mayor did, but I did have that one to bring up, so use that opportunity now.
So on this, maybe I'll go and then you if you want, Mike. I'll speak on mine. Mine is to get servers back to work.
I like that part of yours. I fully support
That
that.
generates income tax that we're missing out now.
Yes.
I take that very seriously.
Yeah, that, your
And
part is
that's why,
great.
and that's why I'm suggesting all these temporary changes, moving forward with caution on the infrastructure project, so we don't get ourselves in a hurt.
Mhm.
And this is specifically to help servers get back to work by adding tables outside. If liability is an issue, fine, that's not my expertise. I'll take legal counsels over other people's. You can ask me what you want about the streetscape stuff.
And you might understand it's this Friday that the outside dining starts, is that correct? So it's kind of time sensitive that we do get this for those businesses that are struggling.
And again, Mom is going to happen whether or not you all choose to. That Mond is completely separate, Moore is completely separate. These are multiple things that we're trying to put together. Stop moving that around. Multiple things that we're trying to put together to
Yeah.
help save our downtown area. Going back to your question, that question about being able to maneuver through town was addressed with conversations with Chief Johnson and Chief Hickman. They're both very comfortable with what we're doing. It's not the entire 100 block, it's half of the 100 block from the alley at Huntington down to Perry Street. There's plenty of access for parking, for transit, fire egress. What's it going to cost the city? Virtually nothing. City crews will be involved, but they're on the paycheck anyways. Barricades are already in existence. We're also getting some large boulders donated by Lafarge. There's a security camera that was installed at no cost by Ohio Telecom using the internet service that's already available through the Chamber of Commerce Main Street building. The intent of this is that if you heard any of the conversations we had, most communities have restaurants in sufficient quantity to meet the needs of that specific community. Port Clinton and a few others, Sandusky and others, have an abundance of restaurants because of the influx of patrons. Now that we're behind the 8 ball in the busy tourist season, we have all these restaurants, more than local population can handle, potentially not having the volume of people in the restaurants for a good part of the summer season. This is a way to get the revenue flowing to those restaurants with their kitchen staff, potentially with additional servers, handling all the business that we're hoping this generates. So it's just another tool, getting foot traffic in our downtown to support the other shops and boutiques that are in the downtown area. So there's a lot of spin-off benefits that we hope will come from all this.
If I may, just to go along with that, was it looked at to go north of the 100 block?
No.
Because you have a whole area there that is just the turnaround where people park. We do the Walleye Drop Festival, everything else there.
Unfortunately, it floods every 10 minutes, but
Well, so, it does. We have to deal with that a lot, just like Monroe Street and most homes here that we hear about all the time where things haven't gotten, with sewage and stuff like that. But to do 8 to 9 hours every day of the week, blocking it off, when we already have places to sit throughout the parks, benches, things like that. If a restaurant, which there's only 5 restaurants in that area, and that's including the 2 across the street over there, Mendoza's and Clinton House. If you're looking at parking spots they have, set up tables in a parking lot. Set up things like that. When I'm coming home now, I'm gonna have to, judge, which street am I gonna take based off what time, the weather, or what's happening. And so are a lot of other people who wanna go, drive down or do something like that.
Mr. Brown, sorry for the inconvenience, but it's a big square. Our town's built on a square. You can find a million different ways to get around. And I
But
will
we
tell you
can't
that
find another place to put tables?
Every business we've talked to in downtown, both retail and restaurant, is 100% behind us. This was something that the Chamber of Commerce Main Street and the businesses in downtown have been involved with since day one.
So when they pull a permit, are they not like the rest of the committees who have to have an end date?
There was no permit pulled. This is a city participation event.
So no permit pulled or anything like that to block off an entire block?
It's at the discretion of the safety service director.
Is there an end date?
At this point, no. We're leaving it open to see what happens.
So for every committee that I've been a part of, when we had to come up and ask for things like that and put an end date or time periods and stuff like that, this is different.
Correct.
Okay. So this is basically 2 powers overriding a lot of other people's voice and freedom and things of that nature.
If that's how you want to interpret it,
I'd like to hear a different point of view.
I've given you the city's point of view.
You gave me your point of view. I called my councilman who hadn't heard about it as of yesterday.
I'm not sure which councilman that was because there have been multiple emails that went out.
Yeah, we've kind at least two
Yeah.
that went to all of council.
Mayor Snyder, looking again at 1120.
I'm sorry?
I'm looking again at 1120, so ordinance 1120. This is the one where the tables will be in front of the restaurants rather than in the street. Because Mom's is the one where they can be in the street for a half a block, correct?
Correct.
So you still will be able to go down Second Street, you still will be able to go from Perry anywhere except for the one portion of the block on Jefferson, but you can cross over at Second Street, because I've been doing it every day practically. So we're talking about, I think we're getting our stuff mixed up here. The one that is here is tables outside on the cement, on the sidewalks. The Mom's is a half a block in the street, correct? All right.
The first half of the 100 block.
Half of it, just up to the alley. Oh, thank you, that's what I was trying to get straight to make sure I understood. Thank you.
Okay. Will the clerk please call the roll as to ordinance 11-20, waiving the 3 required readings? Motion by Mr. Gilo, seconded by Mr. Joel.
Brian Hill,
Yes.
Margaret Phillips,
Yes,
Gary Crowley,
Yes.
Beth Gilman,
Yes.
Chad Hovis,
Yes.
Dave Vila.
Yes.
Thank you, motion carries. And the 3 required readings are waived as to ordinance 11-20. Does council wish to take any further action on ordinance 11-20?
Madam President,
Mr. Velo?
move to adopt ordinance 11-20.
Have a motion to adopt by Mr. Velo, do I have a second?
Did we retain the emergency?
No, you need to do that first.
I remove my motion.
retain emergency.
Go ahead.
I will move to retain emergency.
Okay. I second to retain the emergency caused by Mrs. Phillips. I'll second. Seconded by Mrs. Hovis. Any discussion? Okay, seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Chad Hovis,
Yes.
Beth Gilman,
Yes.
Brian Hill,
Yes.
Margaret Phillips,
Yes,
Gary Crowley,
Yes.
Dave Vila.
Yes.
The emergency clause is retained as to ordinance 11-20, passed by a vote of 6-0. Does council wish to take any further action on ordinance 11-20?
Madam President,
Mr. Velo?
move to adopt the ordinance 11-20.
Motion to adopt ordinance 11-20, do I have a second?
I second. From Margaret.
Ms. Gilpin? Any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Chad Hovis,
Yes.
Dave Vila,
Yes.
Brian Hill,
Yes.
Beth Gilman,
Yes.
Margaret Phillips,
yes,
Gary Crowley.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries 6-0, and ordinance 11-20 is hereby adopted. Business from the floor, Ms. Hopes.
Nothing tonight, Madam President.
Ms. Hopes?
thank you, ma'am. I was paying attention, we got information on the census numbers for Ottawa County. I thought it was awful, I even asked for a separate sheet of paper on it. 44% return on the census for Ottawa County, whereas Sandusky and Erie counties both have over 66%. I know it's been on Facebook, I don't know where else it's been, I just hear it spotted here and there, but we have to do something to get the census numbers up, because that affects so much of what happens to us. People don't really understand it, and they think of it as an invasion of privacy, when it really isn't. Cruisers, love the cruisers that we have, really cared for the one for the teachers as well, because I stood out there and waved along with everybody else, and I'm looking forward to more of them. And that's all I have to say, thank you. And thank you to those of you who've done all this writing and rewriting, because this is a lot of work, and people do not understand how much is involved.
Thank you, Ms. Hopes. Mr. Troll? Mr. Velo?
Nothing tonight.
Mr. Hill?
Oh, thank you, Madam President. I'm invisible, I know.
No.
I just wanted to clear it up. I did talk to Mr. Nipper. I was looking over my emails. I did read the email about the MOM program. I guess just reading it again, I think when I first read it, it looked like it was just kind of a thought. that it looked like there was a lot more details to hash out, and I hadn't heard any other details. And I guess I was under the impression, especially with the addition of this suspending of the codified ordinance, that it was just a temporary thing just until open dining comes in. So I guess now that I reread it, you can see it's pretty vague, and it doesn't mention anything about an end date. So I do apologize that it was sent, and but it's very broad. It's hard to determine like any specifics. But like you said, that's your decision. That's nothing that goes before us anyway, so it's not even in my hands. That's all I have.
Mr. Doolittle, nothing? Mrs. Gilman?
Nothing tonight, Madam President.
Thank you. If nothing more, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Madam President, I move this August body adjourn.
Do I have a second?
A second.
Cheers, we're adjourned. Oh, all in favor?
Yeah.
We're adjourned. I always forget that part.